This is ZEISS Presents Full Exposure, the weekly resource for news, trends, and the people who influence the world of photography and cinematography. Hosted by veteran photographer and filmmaker Jim Camp.
Delphine Diallo is a New York City-based French-Senegalese visual artist and photographer. Graduating from the Académie Charpentier School of Visual Art in Paris, she started working in the music industry as a video editor and graphic designer. Yet, storytelling through portraiture seemed to always be calling her. Then in 2008, she relocated to New York to pursue photography. Her career was boosted by being mentored by wildlife photographer Peter Beard, a chance encounter with comedian Chris Rock that led to working with him on the Total Blackout Tour, and a collaboration with artist Shepard Fairey on his We the People poster project. Delphine's work is defined by immersing herself in the study of anthropology, mythology, religion, science, and martial arts. We recently stopped by Delphine's Brooklyn studio to talk about her work. Delphine, thank you for having us in to talk to you. It's really a pleasure to meet you and see your space and, see some of your work later.
Pleasure to meet you.
Tell me a little bit about, how you started out with your career. Your career went from graphic design into video, and sort of how you progressed into photography.
Well, I start to do a lot of videos and special effects. I come from a background of drawing and in the School of Visual Arts. I did a lot of classes about, advertising, commercial work, music in the music industry, where I was art director and special effect artist, video editor, graphic designer. So it's kind of my school. So after school, I keep studying different tools, and I thought the tools was the answers. And I just realized the tools actually was not the answers. So when I decided to start to be a photographer, is because for the first time I wanted to be just good at one thing.
Yeah, I think probably some people think that you get started in photography because it's a very tool-oriented kind of thing. It's not like drawing or painting, where the tools are pretty common. You have to be in photography. You have to be into gear and cameras to a certain degree.
Yeah, sure. Like you need to have those kind of studies of technical.
But how did you evolve from graphic design and putting videos together to knowing that you wanted to get into photography and specifically portraiture?
It all comes from one person who can trust you and believe in you. And I met my mentor at the perfect age, perfect timing, when I was lost and I didn't know what I want to do. I had so much skills in so many things, and I didn't know what I was good at. So I met Peter Beard, as a photographer from the 60s, 50s, who shot a lot of celebrities and documents the wild Africa.
And nature too, right?
Yeah, the wild Africa in Kenya. And I met him in the right time, because I was able to have someone who's 70 years old who take a look of my work with not really a judgment of an industry, someone from the industry who's judging the work, but he saw the work and his potential, which when you meet a mentor, that's what happened to you. Like usually someone can see the unlimited potential in you. Yeah. So he saw that, because I did photograph my family in 2003, but I keep it in the house on the side, nobody see it. And one day just like, did you ever take pictures? And I was like, sure, do you want to see it? And it's like, I show him, and he stopped for a second and he looked at me and he said, well, you're not a photographer. You're an artist. But he means it, which means he's not.
He saw something. He recognized something. Yeah.
He recognized the art, eye, and today I could tell you that he really believed in me, because he gave me the opportunities to be with him on sets and watch him carefully for 6 months. I learned so fast with him about the vision and the subject and the reason and the mission, the drive, the moments of magic. This is all come from the same heart, but someone showed me that he could make $1 million with it.
So how did you progress next? What was your next step? You were still living in Paris at the time?
I was on and on, back and forth from Paris to New York, and I told you, like, I was lost after 7 years of working in the music industry, doing art direction and video editing, and I stopped all my jobs, and I had to stay for 3 months. Still with no jobs. I asked my friends to help me to stay at their place in New York. I had the intention to come in New York and to make my dream happen, but I need some reflection. So I did, and I decided after 3 months to start to do waitressing, and most popular place in downtown, to be able to have a cash flow and to finally be free from every production company. And that was a great feeling, because you realize how actually the commercial aspect of working in the industry suck you in at one point. It can be good the few years, but then at one point it can suck you in. Like you can't find the way to get out of this 12 hours of work a day or 6 days a week, because everybody's always on production, and production is the most important things ever. So I was tired of it.
What made you make the leap to decide? I mean, it's a big leap going from a steady job as a waitress. The income can be pretty good in New York. Doing that, or at least enough. What made you take the leap to actually say, I'm going to do this now?
Well, I was in another country. Nobody knew me. I was totally free to become whoever I want to become. And I knew I had to take the step to start from scratch. And to start from scratch, it means sacrifice. And to not be able to get a big check at the end of the month and spend my money stupidly, I need to understand what artworks means. And artworks means when you're working in a restaurant and it's physical, you have to smile every day, you have to be nice, whoever the person. There is a lot of aspect of the attitude, the emotion. You're dealing with people who are hungry. So for me, that was the greatest study ever.
Were you shooting film or digital?
Yeah, film. Yeah.
Well, that's also very expensive.
No, it's the opposite.
Film
it's the opposite
compared to digital.
Digital is not expensive once you buy the camera.
Once you buy the camera, right.
But the camera is $3,000.
Right.
I didn't have $3,000. Right. I got an analog camera, and I got.
There were still labs then.
And I got one mission, and my mission it's like, well, I can't spend my time. I can't waste my time and my money to shoot bad picture. So guess what? Each time I'm going to click on the button, that's going to be the right one. So each week I will have one film roll for one subject. 36.
What was the subject?
A woman. Yeah. Like I start to photograph women in New York in my studio here, and then I will have only one film roll, and that's how I start to train. And it gives me so much.
Just by shooting one roll of film.
Yeah. I had 36 chances to find a soul. Kind of like it. It was exciting. And I will keep doing it like a year, 2 years, and then the subjects keeps coming, you know.
But you back up 1 second, because you started doing portraiture.
Yeah.
So how did you decide that that's what you want to do, portraiture? Was that something you felt like was always a drive of yours?
I was already drawn by portraiture a long time ago. When I was a kid, I was drawing portraits. When I was 12 years old, I was selling my drawings to my friends because I was drawing them. So I got a good skills of portraiture and anatomy that my mom taught me very young. She's a great painter and she's drawing amazingly. So I got these skills from my mom. So I love the fact that in photography I can use my skills of anatomy understanding to find the best angle at 1 millimeter perfection. So it's like looking for the sacred geometry in everyone. It's fascinating.
So how did you, and I mean, you know, from where you are now, your projects have a definite focus. How did you go from where you were when you were just starting to deciding how you were going to focus on a certain project, like what you're doing now?
Everything starts with the study. So when I decided to become a photographer, and I knew it would be for the rest of my life, I need to be serious about taking that understanding in practice. So I started to study science, physics, mythology. I love Joseph Campbell. I discovered Joseph Campbell in the library in New York, and I was like, I had to read all of them. And I was and I was drinking his writings about comparative mythology. Yeah. And then I felt the similarity in people behavior and in religion, and more understanding will come to me. And I felt like I had a better understanding of the subject as a woman. So he comes from a lot of study on a regular basis, different books, you know. And my interest draw me, so I use a lot of my intuition to do that. I don't decide right away, I use my intuition, and then if the right subjects come to me, which for me was basically women, but in different forms and aspects. They have skills. They're craft maker.
Well, that's sort of...
They're fashion designer. They're always coming with the skill.
Yeah, it seems like that's how you kind of, I don't want to say drifted into photography, but landed in photography was intuition.
Yeah.
Because it felt like it's something that, you know, that you really had something, it was a place where you had something to say.
Yeah. And that voice took years to develop, to be confident, but also to this is bad voice who's like, well, who care about what you have to say? You know, it's like this bad voice is coming in, and the one who's like believing in the big picture, it's the one that can see that you can have a lot of answers for the photography world when it comes to the way that we see the world, because I am studying a different type of seeing the world, which is through the eyes of each woman and through their craft. I want to bring more beauty into the world.
So what was the first project that you touched on like that you felt like everything really clicked?
That was Highness. So the first project was Highness, and again, it was super intuitive. Super intuitive. I was shooting for a year and a half only, so my work was starting to be a little bit strong, but it was still at the beginning. And then suddenly this woman followed me on Facebook, because I think Instagram was 2011, I don't know, but Instagram was not there yet. And she saw my work online, and she contacted me and asked her if I can photograph her herb sculpture headpieces. And she called me on Skype, and she showed me the pieces. I was like, I couldn't breathe. I was like, this is it.
She wanted you to photograph
the headpieces, the breads, you know, there's beautiful pieces in my pictures that.
These are some of the work, like what's over here. When I first saw those, I was like,
so this is the first open door to a deep vision of the journey. Like she opened the door, Joanne Petitfrère, this artist. She opened the door because when I saw it, I channeled it, and I was like, I had to take my flight to Paris the next day morning. I pushed back the flight at night to be able to shoot the next day right away before it leave me. So when we photographed this, she called me on Skype, and the next day I got the productions on the set.
How long does it take her to make those? Is that all human hair?
Yeah, I mean, this is like cannelon hair, so it's like a artificial hair, like
How long does it take her to make them?
She will never tell me. That's a secret. That's what I'm saying. It's like if you meet another artist and another craft maker, and I can't tell you every secret of my techniques.
Yeah, but just the
she
visual of them.
She will never tell you, and that's what makes her stronger. You know, if she tell you, she's killing the myth. It just came out to her. You know.
So that first Highness sort of was sort of a multidisciplinary kind of project.
Yeah. So what was the vision was amazing because it was not only her. So what we did is like she was the woman who was like building the headpieces, but the jewelry and the fashion design are made by also a craft maker from Brooklyn, women, Soul and Dynasty, who create a collective called L'Enchanteur. And one's doing the jewelry and the other one's creating the clothes. So in less than 12 hours, I got the combo works, which means my vision is nothing without the athlete of other strong women to bring a narrative as strong as a mythology, which that was my inspiration. I was like, this is a great mythology, man. Like Highness, the 21st century, she's veiled, but she's a Victorian, but the mask is African. It's like, I felt like my issues as a woman was to have this, my mom is French, my dad is from Senegal, and I find this match between me. My heart was both, and I don't have to choose. You know, like this Western, the France or Senegal, like what are you? And people always ask you, what are you as an identity? I think in the next 20 years, I think we're going to talk about identity completely different. We judge or we separate and we put in a box. It doesn't help us to bring collective together more. And the collective has nothing to do with only your cultural identity. It has to be beyond that somehow, you know. They come from Haiti, they all come from African descent, but from totally different place than me. So what we have in common, it was so strong at this moment in time and frame. So that's why Highness brought me that confidence. Like a year and a half after, it was like that confidence came to me with those pictures. I was like, wow, I got a lot to do. Which means it's not being created yet, but you get the first picture. Yeah.
So you came to the States 2008, 2009, something like that, which was the dawn of the
the election of Obama
era.
I was in 125th Street in Holland.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
it was I think a lot of us thought it was a very hopeful period. A lot of people said it was the beginning of a post-racial America, and now here we are in the height of in the sort of the heels after the beginning of the Me Too movement, Black Lives Matters movement. How has all that affected your work and how you and your portraiture, and how does your portraiture speak to any of that?
So when Trump get elected, I did this project with Shepard Fairey, with the people. So one of my pictures was selected by Empire Foundation, which the foundation that Shepard Fairey works with, to choose 3 photographers from different backgrounds. One was Latino, the other one was from Syria, and I was French, Senegalese. And they chose the work, and I had to experience the amount of attention for the Women March of those posters being spread all around. The Kickstarter, they raised like more than $1 million for producing those posters, and I had to go to the Women March, and I had to witness the inauguration before, which would not be fair if I don't do both, right? I need to understand both sides of the coins.
I guess so.
No, seriously.
I guess so.
And I enter literally the Twilight Zone. So when Washington D.C. on the day of inauguration, and you see all the red cap, and you see people outside, Afro-Americans selling the shirts, you understand the conversation with the green money. It's not like the problem with racism is like people focusing on color, while the depth of it and there is definitely problems of racism. I'm not going to deny it, but we have like the money absorption in the way that America becomes so extreme is because of the green money, the green color first. And that's how people have been driving about it. The biggest industries or the biggest success people come from America. Like Uber, or all those guys, like the new apps coming and then making billions of dollars, they're from America. So America wants to make money. And then they can talk about racism, they can say they're racist, they can say they love black people, they love and the conversation stay at the level of not getting deep at a certain level to understand you as a human being. Who are you? What you protecting? Only your family? What's your culture only? Why you don't protect this idea of humanity? Why we don't check the declaration of men, the declaration that where is the human rights? We should.
So, but how has that affected your work?
Affect my work
because I'm thinking specifically of the Women of New York project and how you started that.
Well, this is from We the People. So after the Women March, I felt everybody's responsible at certain level. It can be 1%, 2%. So my responsibility as a photographer, for example, my responsibility was that.
Was one of your images on one of Shepard Fairey's?
This one.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. I didn't see, so I was not aware of that. That's really something. So you got a lot of notoriety from that.
Yeah.
And did that sort of springboard?
No.
Okay.
Which that's why I took my responsibility. I take my decision because the springboard was only on Shepard Fairey and Amplifier Foundation, and it was not on the photographers. So I learned something again. I'm like, okay, fair enough. I got this attention. I want more money in time and history, and now I have to use for myself. Which, when I did this idea of Women of New York, it was because that relationship that I want to create with women, to not judge them, to not having opinion.
Well, you started, what you told me originally was you started selecting subjects carefully in what you wrote to me, and then you said you also were having an unconscious sort of discrimination in how you picked your subjects.
Yeah, because like even if I photograph a lot of women of color, it can be from Indian to Afro-American to from the African continent, it's because I don't see them anywhere represented the way that I felt classic. They have so much beauty. It was beyond that. I was thinking about every woman from every background, and I didn't want to. I was still choosing though. Like the fact that I was choosing those women makes me feel like my work was limited. The only way I can unlimited my work in terms of portraiture, it's when I'm going to open my door and my studio to women that I never met in my life before, and then I have no judgment. So I let them coming to me.
So you just put out a call, social media, wherever, and you just decided I'm going to shoot 100 women. No matter who comes through first?
I didn't know about the number.
Oh.
Drive. And then suddenly, around 140, I was kind of tired. I was like, wow, that's a lot of emotion. So around 140, I was like, I think I couldn't handle so much. I had to step, like 140 was enough for me to create that collective oneness, consciousness in all those women vision.
But you shot more than 100 women.
140.
So you still edited from, in other words, you didn't say, okay, I'm going to make a certain number and then cut it off at that. You shot a lot of women.
I shot 140 and then sometimes I'm shooting few there and there. but the project itself is like
How
very
long was
consistent.
that? How long did that go for?
It was just after Women March, so it's like 2017, right? Yeah, 2017 summer, 2017. Like March 2017. And then it was a drive. It was like, I can't stop.
So what was your main drive to do the Women of New York project? You talked about, when you were growing up, as I'm sure so many women feel in a male-dominated business or field like photography is, and basically all fields. What did you want to say about your experiences as a woman and through this project?
Yeah, that's a reflection. That's a big reflection where you limited your relationship with women has to change as well as a woman. So it means like every woman in my work is a subject of their life. It's like I'm making my best to bring their best light to them, not just to me only. Even if it's like there is a connection of I'm the eye, and I can show them what kind of light I'm seeing. So I trying to be very honest, but that honesty will have limitation if I choose my subject all the time. And then with Women of New York, what was beautiful, it's like when I decide to get out of the control zone, which is very photographer drive, recontrolling. Like my psyche, my energy, everything changed when I realized it's like I was conditioned. And when I unconditioned myself photographing stranger to come to my house and be open their heart to me because they want to share, and that's the reason why they came. It's not only for the picture, because they want to share with the photographer, then they love the work. So they feel honored to come, visit, and talk to me.
Did you end up spending a lot of time with certain people who would come?
Yeah, like I think, it was like 6 sessions only, but the relationship that I have with most
so you would shoot people multiple times?
No.
Oh.
I was a machine, so the idea was I have to shoot 15 women a day.
15 a day?
Yeah, I was like, really? Yeah.
That sounds like a scheduling issue just right there. How did you schedule that many people in a day?
Because I want those women to connect when they were there.
So they would come and there would be people
I
here
don't want to
talking.
be
That's
this kind of
interesting,
one-to-one.
Did you record any video of that by any chance?
No. I mean, I have some like probably iPhone pictures and stuff, but
yeah.
I was too focusing to listen what they have to talk to me about. So there is a collective who's been creating at the time when women will come, the other one will hide a little bit here, the space for the shoot, so she won't be able to be looked by the others. But this space will be with a lot of food, good biscuit, like the taste of women on the table, and then they can talk and have a conversation and feel beautiful in a place where they have a space to not be judged anymore. And I think we're missing this today. Like the woman always needs to, there's this kind of this crisp that she needs to let go, and that space or not doing this in a photography studio is even better. Just do at home. It becomes a studio, and they're here and they can talk. Some of them, they will stay for hours. And then at one point I had to close it. I was like, I need to.
Right. You need to
But that was beautiful.
So how does that evolve into your creative process for what we're going to see today?
So, for example, today we working with Ashley. It's a Virgin artist, that's her name. And Ashley is working on body painting. And I think a year ago we met. I discovered her on Instagram, again, thanks for Instagram, to introduce amazing, women artists who didn't have a place to show their work. Then we can find each other, especially in New York, because there's a lot of artists. And we start to do this project where I saw she was drawing on the face of a friend lines, Twilight Zone circle. And it's the idea of the infinite space, this kind of new dimension. And we did an amazing pasting wall in Bushwick with a 40-meter side eye on this project. And again, it's a powerful work of collaboration of two women to bring more love and compassion to the world. So I really believe women have this power to create a very strong collective force.
Is there such a thing like that in New York now? Multiple collectives of women in the arts?
Welcome to my world. Yeah, for sure. It's strong, you know. I could not become who I become without other women around me. Most of my life is basically based on the love and the giving of all my peers as a woman who are actually practicing self-knowledge, creativity, and sharing.
So today, what is the specific thing that you're going to be working on today?
So today I got this dream of having the face of a woman full of eyes. So this is the eyes of the new dimensions of understanding the world. So every eyes will have this aspect of understanding your patterns, empathy, compassion, love, fear. They're all open. If they're all open at the same time and you can recognize them, then you can evolve. So more than racism, we need to awake people on all those aspects that themselves, they don't want to deal with friends. They're not going to talk about fear between themselves. Fear. They're not going to talk about pain, empathy, compassion. We need to bring at this table this very important matter to have the youth and the young generation with respect for humanity and the planet. This is something very different that my peers or my my peers as a photographer before than I'm trying to have right now. Like, I'm not trying to compete. I was like, that was their time, but what would be the time of visionary today as a photographer if woman has a different eye and she's taking a different direction and dimension? And that's what we're going to do today. We're taking a different dimension.
How do you feel your work impacts that specifically, what you're talking about, as far as making it a more equal ground for women to sort of, I'm not sure what the right term is, but, as far as the patriarchy is concerned, let's say. How do you think your work has an impact on that, and other women photographers like you, and maybe portraitists specifically? How do you think that works?
First of all, there is not a lot of portraitists. I was surprised. I was at Paris Photo for my show last November, and I walked into the galleries, and I didn't see a lot of portraitists in general. And as a woman, so Daniel Morley, she's a portraitist, taking picture of herself. She's from South Africa, very beautiful work. And taking portrait of her friends, LGBT, lesbian, and have a lot of power to bring them in the forefront to express themselves, which is very important. Michaeline Thomas is from New York, not sure, but she's taking portraits also of Afro-American women. But that's it. So if you tell me the place...
But your work. I'm talking about your work.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm telling you the numbers of women who's doing portraiture today to tell you that we're very few. And this access to portraiture, like Avedon and all those big photographers, had a big influence in society. So if you really think about how much portraiture can influence a society, there is a place for me to discover, because I saw a different way to see people, which is the depth, the inner beauty. Women of New York, I can edit every woman from different background in the same book. Why I have to separate black people to white people? You know what I mean? It's like my entire editing and the entire world that I'm creating as a portraitist, as a meaning also of oneness.
Well, there's so many, and there's so many fields where people may think that a lot of progress has been made. Let's say, like in the fashion world, where
I'm not laughing.
You sent me that piece that showed your collage, and I was reading a lot of the statements of African Americans in the fashion world, and I had heard a while ago about the Vogue. As long as Vogue has been around, only in the past year was the first African American shot a cover of Vogue. And this is post Gordon Parks and so on. So there's a lot of progress that still needs to be made. And
I don't call that progress. I call that a candy.
A candy. Fair enough.
They give you a piece of candy, and everybody's going to talk about this candy for 6 months to a year. So everybody's forgetting the real reason why we're here. Fashion world are really good at it. That's why they do one cover with the black woman once a year, and people shut down.
No, that's okay.
And then people are so proud because they post the pictures with that black girl, and then the next year it's coming back. Oh, another picture with the black girl. So now they kind of evolve. They have 10 covers at the same time with different magazines where they use black women, but people start to say, well, but who's behind the lens? It's still like someone who's not black. So it's very interesting to see how slow is the process. I'm saying it's really good, but it's very slow.
And getting back to your portraiture in closing, I mean, what is coming for you in your next project? What's to look out for? So
now, after 10 years of documenting a lot of different souls, women's souls, and traveling the world with different projects, it's time for me to do collage now. So I'm entering a new space where all my work from 10 years, 16-hour drive, 2 weeks of work, checking more than 15,000 pictures, cutting to 800 and 600, and knowing that actually the storytelling is right there in front of me for the last 10 years. Now I have to take that and making the big picture, which means I have to take all this work and put into my collage.
That sounds pretty much of a big project.
Yeah, but could you imagine, actually I knew that when I started. So I had to have this craving for shooting crazy for 10 years because I need substance.
Is this going to be a large pieces?
Yeah, so I have a solo show in LA in May, and I art direct the storytelling. And yes, it's like the storytelling, it's the female energy, which has nothing to do with only my color. I'm starting, for example, the show with a picture of me, red chrome, and it's me with the number 8, which is my blood type. So I'm entering the zone of mankind. Blood A type, female. And then when you enter the exhibition, the collage you're gonna see are the portraits of women that I photographed for many years, with temples that I photographed in Thailand, with nature that I photographed in Mali, in Ethiopia. In all my travels, I bring a lot of photography of landscape and nature, but I never use them. Now that I have...
You'll be able to incorporate.
Yeah, so now I'm incorporating the nature elements, which is the mineral elements, to the women, to finally create a consistent narrative. So
are these going to be big? Are these going to be big prints?
Yes.
Or physical
big prints, yeah.
Physically put together as collages, not digitally.
Yeah, all like, yeah.
How big? How big were they?
50 by 60 inch, and the bigger one is 100 inch.
Wow. So then this is going to be opening in LA? Where?
Yeah, in LA, and in the art district. The gallery is called Art Activist, and the gallery is sponsoring and supporting Native American and women of color.
Great, that sounds good. And that's happening in May?
Yeah.
Great. I'll look forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Catch up with you at that point, I hope.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a lot of work, so I'm ready to start collaging tomorrow.
Okay. Once we get out of here. Well, thank you for having us. It was really a pleasure.
Yeah? You get enough content?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's always more, but yes.
If you have more questions. Okay, we good?
We're gonna see. We're gonna see you at work.
Okay.
All right.
Ashley, it's about time.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us next time for another edition of ZEISS Full Exposure. If you can't watch, you can always catch the audio-only version on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at ZEISS_Full Exposure or on the web at ZEISSFullExposure.com. And to learn more about the latest in ZEISS lenses, head to ZEISS.com.